All right, welcome. Hi, I'm Xena here with Temple Xena, and I have with me Deborah. And Deborah's been one of my clients and has gone through the 100-day VIP one-on-one coaching program. And so I have her here today to just tell us about what her experience has been like through the program. So the first question I'll ask you is, what led you to want to reach out and do the program?
Hi, Xena.
Hello.
Well, as you know, I was super tired of just doing absolutely everything I could possibly think of to lose weight, and nothing was working. I'm now 59 years old. I was 58 when we started working together, and I've got a thyroid condition and nothing, it wasn't that I was extremely overweight. I just had about 18 to 20 pounds I needed to lose, and it wasn't going anywhere. And I was just sick and tired of it, desperate.
Right, right. And so you sort of have a unique journey with this program that you've been on. And so do
Mm-hmm.
you want to talk a little bit about like what the experience was like going in and what you sort of learned right away as we started working together?
So, what I learned right away was that my metabolism was broken. I wasn't, it was interesting to me to realize that I was not eating enough. I wasn't eating enough calories. It wasn't necessarily that I was eating poorly, because I don't eat sugar, I don't eat dairy, and I don't eat gluten, just from sensitivities that I have. And so I thought, okay, I'm eating healthy. I eat lots of fruits and vegetables, and life's good. But what I didn't realize is that I was only eating about 900 to 1,000 calories a day, because I hadn't been tracking it. So I didn't realize how little I was eating, and that I was seriously under eating protein, which is why I would always feel tired, particularly when I worked out. I wasn't giving my muscles the the protein and the energy they needed in order to support what I was asking my body to do. And I dance, I walk, I hike, I work out, and constantly felt tired. So that I learned really quickly. I wasn't feeding me what my body needed to do what I was asking it to do.
Right. So when Deborah first came to me, her goal was she wanted what a lot of people do, which is I want to lose weight, I want to lose some fat, I want to tone up, I want to get stronger and fitter. And normally to take someone through the process of fat loss, I have to put them into, a caloric deficit. When we did the initial tracking, the week where I just see, what does your world look like right now? There's no way we can even start with a deficit because you're already under eating so much. And so because of that under eating and the lack of protein, the metabolism wasn't so much, I would say, broken, but it had adapted to the situation to the point where the body didn't want to do any extra stuff and it was holding on to what it had because it was just not getting its needs met. So the metabolism does what metabolisms do to keep you alive. And it said, we're just going to chill out and not really do a lot right now. So in order to get our metabolism back online and adjusted to a more normal system, we had to reverse diet you at first, right? So we had to slowly, over a matter of several weeks, increase your calories to get that metabolic fire going before we could then put you back into a little bit of a deficit that the body could
Mm-hmm.
handle. And we successfully did that. The first half of your program, which you didn't expect, was actually eating more, but you didn't gain any weight. You gained like, I think, a pound or something.
No, I actually lost a pound.
Oh, that's
So I haven't gained any weight since we started,
right.
even though I was now eating more.
Right. And we had got your calories almost doubled
Yeah.
and you didn't gain weight from that. And then we started actually losing inches.
Yep.
Yeah. Then we switched things. So we got you to a point where like, okay, now we have a metabolism we can work with. And then we dropped your calories a little bit. And then we started having some.
Right. And one thing, probably about halfway through the program, it was like I knew the fire had kind of kicked in because I wasn't cold anymore. Before I was constantly cold. My hands, my feet, and my husband would complain, "Don't touch me," because I was so cold. And now I'm like a little furnace, and now he's like, "You're sitting too close. I'm getting too hot."
Your little heater.
So that is now fixed, and it's nice.
So what were some of your biggest like aha moments or takeaways from this? Besides being a little furnace and more
Well,
fidgety. Didn't you say you were also getting more fidgety? All that extra little movement that the body does that stops doing when metabolism isn't.
yeah, now I had more. It was hard for me to sit still.
Right.
And it wasn't that I was sitting still before. It was more of it was a head thing for me where I knew I needed to be busy. So I would get up and move even though my body didn't feel like it.
Right.
Now my legs feel like, okay, I need to go for a walk, or I need to I need to move my body because that's what it needs.
Right.
And it's not a head game anymore. My head is now saying, man, I just want to sit and relax.
Right. So
So
yeah,
let's
some of the
see.
biggest aha moments, takeaways.
That would be the biggest aha moment for me was realizing that I wasn't doing myself any favors by not eating or not eating enough calories, and that I needed to fuel my body in the right way to get the results that I wanted.
Great.
So that was my biggest aha moment. I never thought that I was starving myself,
Right.
and I was, and I wasn't hungry, so I didn't think I was starving.
Right. Right. And that's the other thing, those hunger signals will go away when your metabolism is just. I remember there was a day where you're like, I'm really hungry today. I was like, that's a really good sign.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that was when I was eating 1,500 calories.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what aspects, given the structure of the program, what aspects of the program do you think were the most beneficial to you?
Uh, Learning about macros and tracking intake, because what it helped me do was be intentional, to eat intentionally,
Mm-hmm.
to not only become aware of what I was putting into my mouth and how much I was putting into my mouth, but what I was putting in my mouth that would meet what I needed, to meet my protein. That was the toughest for me, was to eat enough protein,
Well, that
because I
was
was so under eating it
right.
before that now eating more chicken or more tofu or more whatever to meet that protein need that's my biggest struggle. It still is a struggle for me
That's what
because
my next question was. What was your biggest struggle? And so,
yeah, it was eating enough protein. I'd have to do like a protein shake in order to meet my proteins. It was almost daily that I'd have to do a protein shake because I'm just not a super big meat eater. I like meat. And I know there's other ways to get protein. And I struggled with how to put those together, those macros together, in order to meet those needs. So that was my biggest struggle, and still is challenging for me, is to plan my days to meet those macros.
right. And just to make it sure that people are clear, yes, the protein needs were high, but it's not a low carb. It's not a
No.
low carb diet of some of sorts. So plenty of carbs. You got to have plenty of carbohydrates. as
Yeah.
well. It's just making
And
sure the protein needs
my
being
problem was I was overeating the carbs, overeating the fats, and way under eating the protein.
right. Yeah, 'cause when we and it did your initial tracking, your fats were
Mhm.
really, really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is common.
All good stuff.
Oh,
Avocado,
right, all good
Right.
fats, right? But just out of the proportion they needed to be
Right.
in, right? Um, so my other question was what are the results you're experiencing right now? You're warmer, you're more fidgety, but I think how many inches have you lost now? 22?
20, 22, 22 and a half
Yeah,
inches total. And I've lost, I don't know, 4 or 5 pounds. And I've learned not to focus on the weight,
right.
that it's total inches. And you may hear my dog in the background. Total inches lost and how I'm feeling, how I feel in my clothes, and pictures.
Right. Because you're doing some muscle building too, which influences that number on the scale. So, and what we know is that with that, I mean, that many inches lost is huge. That's the fat loss. And so the higher weight is that muscle, not higher weight, but the fact that you doesn't look like, oh, you had this huge weight loss is because you put on so much muscle in the process.
Right.
So that's really good in what we call body recomposition. So you're getting less fat on the body and more lean muscle tissue, which is great. My other question is like, how would you explain your experience like working with me as your coach?
Let's see. Hard, but not not in a bad way. um, you held me accountable to my own goals, and you helped me understand what was happening in my body and what my body needed, and and why it was important to me to do things differently for my body, because my body isn't like your body or somebody else's body. It's mine, and I had my have still have some challenges to deal with, um, physical challenges, and and you helped me work through those and obtain success in spite of the fact that I deal with a thyroid condition, and in spite of the fact that I had a horrible tooth infection while we were working
Right.
together, and my body was fighting this infection. Oh, and I think I even had a kidney infection. So, it's been a rough medical year for me.
Right.
And in spite of all of that, I still learned so much and have applied it to my life. And it's something that I've been able to stick with, like the daily threes and walking every day, and eating intentionally. And that has just made such a huge difference in my life. And I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Well, my pleasure, working with you. It's been a great experience. And we have had our challenges to work through,
Mm-hmm.
but we have, and we've done it anyway. And what's great is you never let it be an excuse to not be on your program. And which leads to the question of the sustainability of the program. Do you feel like what you're doing is definitely, you can integrate it into your daily life? You've integrated these experiences, you can sustain them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. The daily threes, yeah, I just get up in the morning and put my tea water on and do my daily threes. It's just, I don't even think about it because I'm not even really awake yet.
Right.
So I do those, get those out of the way. And, um, I take my dog for a walk every morning, and he doesn't let me forget that. Rain,
Right.
rain or shine, we go for a walk. So it was easy for me to incorporate those things. Um, and because we went through the tracking and learning about macros, I now eat more intentionally, or I stop and think before I decide what I'm going to eat if I haven't pre-planned it. Um, and that's been, I mean, that's just a part of my daily life now,
Mhm.
where it wasn't before. I would just, okay, what do we have in the fridge, you know?
Right.
And again, it wasn't that I was eating unhealthfully. Um, I I don't have sweets and things in the house, and um, it was just what I was eating wasn't enough or right for my body and what
Yeah, it
it
wasn't in the right proportions.
right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I'd eat a half an avocado and some tuna fish, and well, I don't need a half an avocado, but I could have a quarter. You know,
Right.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
like
and you could have an avocado depending on the day, but now you're more aware.
right.
You're more aware by the time you get to the end of the day, how much fats have I already had today? How does
Yes.
that dictate, what I can have now? Um,
Yeah.
and have you ever felt restricted food wise? I mean, and in terms of like, oh,
No,
there are all these things I can't have.
no, actually, it was kind of it is kind of fun playing with the tracker, because if I know that I've got a birthday party to go to and I know they're going to have, instead of having cake, they're going to do some sort of berry pie. I'm a pie person, not a cake person.
Right.
I plan my day so I can make sure that I can have a piece of pie and not feel guilty about it.
Right. Yeah. And there's never been a time where I've told you, you can have this or you can't have this. You must eat this. You must eat that. What
Right,
what I do with you guys is set it up so that you know the parameters of what you should be eating, but how you meet those macros is completely
right,
up to you.
right. So I've had, we've gone to Mod Pizza for lunch, and it's not that I eat the whole pizza.
Right.
I couldn't anyway. I can't eat that much, but I have my 2 slices and um, a salad, and I'm good. And I adjust my day on both ends so I can have that for lunch and be just fine, and
Right.
and not lose the the gains that I've made, and gain not in weight, but
Right.
in meeting my goals.
Right. And so therefore, this is where I feel like if you do the macro tracking as intended, it actually
Mhm.
leads to a lot of food freedom
It does.
instead of food restriction.
Hmm.
And some people will think, oh, tracking's so restrictive. But I think it depends on your intention and your orientation to it. And if you
Right,
have the correct orientation, I'm the same way. I find I have so much more freedom. Freedom of
right,
mental space too, because if I have my day planned out for tomorrow, then I really don't have to give it much thought.
right. Yeah, I haven't quite mastered that yet. Is the pre-planning, but I do have days that I've already done that were, hey, that was a good day. I really met my macros, and then I've repeated those days.
Right.
So it's made it simple. So the first couple of weeks learning the tracker, it's it was, I wouldn't say challenging. It was just a little more time consuming
Yeah.
in the beginning. But once you're in it, and I've even put recipes in there so I could figure out the macros and then add those to what I've eaten. Um, it becomes easier, because then you're just like, okay, I did this, 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 and this, and it puts it in your tracker, and you're done. So
Yeah.
you've got to
I,
give yourself that first couple of weeks to get
that's what,
used to
that's
it.
what I tell everybody. I said there's about at least 3 week learning curve. And then it takes several weeks to build your library of things
Yes,
in there.
yes,
But then once you really start to get that down, you can really start flying with it. And it's worth
yeah,
the extra effort at the beginning. Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And it's so, it was surprising to me to learn about what macros, how many macros in whatever I'm eating, and wow, I didn't know it had that much fat, and holy cow, wow, that's really high in carbs, and really low in protein. Well, let's see if we can fix that. So now I'm actually adjusting recipes to bring up the protein and reduce the fat. And so it's allowed me to do that too, which has been kind of fun.
Yeah, the level of awareness is wonderful. And
Hmm.
so you've completed your first 100 days, but we're talking about getting you going for another set. So it'll
Hmm.
be really fun to revisit in the next interview where you are after the next session that we go through.
That sounds good.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I love working with you. So thank you for being such
Thank
a
you,
star
Xena.
client.
Thank you. You're
Thank
the best.
you. All right. You too. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Let's